So we're going to be meeting at the boardroom because last meeting they passed a resolution to lock not only us out of the boardroom, the public, but also the supervisors.
We've all gotten a lot of emails. I've gotten a lot of text messages. I've gotten phone calls from people. The vast majority, well, I think I can only think of one person that contacted me either by email that said they wanted the board chambers open. Everyone else said to keep them closed.
This isn't Kansas City work. You work for us. Open up now.
If anybody has some time, I would recommend that you go back and look at the 2020 videos of these board meetings.
Flee now while you can, because the days of your tyranny are drawing to a close. So when the ballot box is gone, there is only the cartridge box. You have made bullets expensive, but luckily for you, ropes are reusable. Thank you.
So the thing that we have to remember about 2020 is that COVID shut everything down, that nothing was running, and people had a lot of time to think. And that's not always a good thing.
Large groups came into the building, repeatedly shouting, screaming, threatening. It became very difficult for the average citizen to speak out.
I am a lifelong resident of Shasta County, born right here in Redding. I am calling to say, please be safe. I don't believe you should open the meetings to the public. Please don't give in. You need to understand that just because I'm not there shouting that I'm going to recall you doesn't mean my vote doesn't count too.
I talked to a lot of people who are afraid to go in that room.
Well, you have to remember initially a lot of us weren't paying attention because we were doing what we were told to do. We were staying at home with our families, taking care of our children, and then these things start making the news. We start seeing people like Alyssa McEwen, who's standing with her bullhorn, yelling through glass doors for them to open the chambers.
To alter or abolish it and establish new government. You no longer have our consent.
It created a bubble where these people thought that they were the majority because they didn't hear any detractors. But the detractors were at home,
yes,
doing as they were asked.
Now it is your turn.
So many people have reached out to us. So many people have said, you're so brave. I wish I could do that, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of them knowing my name, my face. I work for the county. I work in sensitive positions where I could be fired. And so they just watch us and cheer quietly from behind.
And that's a real thing. I mean, people have to care about their well-being and their ability to provide for their families. There is going to be a point where there's not going to be anything left.
The problem is there's no such thing as holding your head down. You can hold your head down for so long before they discover that you're not with them, that you're not a loyalist, and they'll come for you.
Yeah.
You go back and you look at those 2020 board meetings. They were a nightmare. They were a nightmare. Obviously my license plates have been stalked. I've had my car vandalized while parked up here while I'm in a board meeting.
I hope you open your
when
ears.
people
You absolutely
stood there,
because this is a warning.
and they would say
Violent
that there would be blood in the streets, that they were going to use ropes instead of bullets. I have had my life threatened in emails from this podium over and over again.
Back in 2021, it was a lot of angry individuals. You know, they came in and they yelled and shouted.
How is it that 29-year-old with basically no experience gets hired as a deputy CEO to run this county as the second highest position in the county? Who did she have to sleep with in order to get that job?
I've noticed you, Matt, today. You've been smirking a lot today. Very disrespectful. At least have a solemn look on your face when you don't agree with somebody.
At times, they had violated rules that the county themselves had set, threatened supervisors, and I don't recall there being any legal incident for any of those events.
The closest we come is Rich Gallardo trying to arrest the board members.
In California Penal Code 837, do hereby arrest the following persons for multiple California Code violations, using false and misleading pretenses and calling it a threat to public services or facilities. I am arresting you, ma'am, in Penal Code 837. There was no 3-minute mark.
And all that happened was the sheriff walked up and he decided maybe it was...
Okay.
Yeah,
Officer Walker?
that's true.
That's the closest we come to illegal action. People were very rarely called out. We're beginning to see a lot of cronyism. A lot of people are being denied positions that they've had the whole time because they aren't considered loyalist. We see at least an instance of different recall proponents no longer being allowed to be in their position because they aren't considered loyalist.
So, tell me about your upbringing.
Well, it's a very interesting upbringing because not a lot of people make the news from when they're first born. But my mother and my sister were pregnant at the same time. And so I was actually born the same time as my niece in the same hospital. I spent a majority of my life being very quiet. My niece is the more outspoken one. She was much more popular. And I was very quiet and often forgotten about. I enjoyed hanging out at Bernie Falls or sitting in my backyard with my dog and watching sunsets. I was never really a very social or outgoing person. But I do have a need for justice and often spent time watching the movie Gandhi or reading his biography or watching Iron-Jawed Angels and seeing Alice Paul create a freedom for women that didn't exist without her civil disobedience. And I spent my whole life studying when it's time to use such measures. Yeah, as a teenager, I was enlisted to join the parliamentary procedure team. And I wasn't too sure about it, but people felt that I was very good at arguing my cases. And so I was enlisted, and we took it to state that year and actually beat out Fall River, who was our biggest rival. Bernie was my home until I turned about 19 years old, and then I moved to Redding, and I've never lived outside of Shasta County. I've had opportunity to. I had opportunity to go to LA and join a film school. I had opportunity to go to New York and be on Broadway. I had opportunity to be on 17 magazine. I just, in the long run, wanted to go home. There isn't really anywhere like Round Mountain, like the pine trees, like Bernie. I don't really want to be anywhere else.
One thing that was quite unexpected was that during the last 4 years of fighting these battles, that you and me would have gotten so much closer together.
Yeah, I never would have expected that one of the positive things of fighting against all of these people and all of these policies would be that our relationship would grow so close.
There's a lot of anticipation for me that day. I knew it was a long shot that I would be actually appointed to the Elections Commission, but it was a possibility. And I'd planned to give my speech stating that although I have been critical of the board for the last 4 years, that I did believe that it was possible for us to come together.
We should strive for a balanced approach that includes all voices. Our discussions may be passionate and sometimes contentious, but I endeavor to engage respectfully and constructively.
But it wasn't meant to be. As I heard the public comment, and there were a few against me.
I just want to state that I oppose the appointment of Benjamin Nguyen to the Elections Commission. He is clearly opposed to the commission and its goals.
And there were several for me as well.
Benjamin Nguyen as on the Election Commission. I think it's an excellent idea. I found him to be very intelligent and well-spoken and honest. I can't think of a better person to be on the Election Commission.
when it came to board discussion, things just sort of fell apart. In a confusing way, actually.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve Benjamin Noane.
I'll second.
Okay. And at this time, I need to let the board know that I'll be recusing myself from this vote.
And what? Why?
You'd have to ask the applicant. I can't disclose that.
Which I have no idea what he's talking about.
Back to the recusal. There was an incident in the last month or two, and I had a constituent bring this up to me, where Supervisor Kellstrom made some negative comments about the potential nominee, and I wonder if that's a basis for perhaps recusal because it indicates bias.
And I'm going to take Supervisor Rickert's recommendation. I'm going to recuse myself also.
I have a question for council real quick. Is this an item that will take just 2 out of 3 votes, or do we have to have 3 votes for this to pass?
You need a majority of the board, so you would need 3 votes. It would need to be unanimous at this point.
In order for me to have gotten on this commission, the person I've been the most critical of the past 4 years, Patrick Jones, would have had to vote for me. And I knew that was pretty much an impossibility. He has a lot of disdain for citizens that speak out against him. He is not interested in public discourse unless you're favorable towards him.
He's actually a very good person for this board. What are we scared of? Why are we scared to work with the other side? I've been preaching this for a long time. We have to work together. This is an opportunity for you to sit down, Benjamin, and work with Patty Plum.
I feel that Benjamin's extremely bright and he's very knowledgeable about what's been going on, and I think he would make an excellent commissioner. So that's my opinion.
I'll weigh in now. This will be an absolute hard no.
What made you decide to perform an act of civil disobedience?
You guys, you're the one who's ridiculous, Patrick. This is your second warning.
Hell, you're defaming a candidate.
Sit down, please. Sit down.
We may have to clear the room.
Brown Act violation.
We're now going to clear the room. The media can stay.
Another in a series of Brown Act violations.
It was not something that I took very lightly. I didn't just walk in there one day and say, all right, this looks like a good day to shut a meeting down. And I'd also like to make note of how often I have asked for peace between sides.
And I decided to erase the line that was drawn in the sand of who can be friends and who can't be. And I decided that I would look for all the good in you I could possibly find. If you are forgiving, humble, generous, and loving, then maybe you could bring a peace to this room that we haven't seen since 2021.
I have been begging for years in hopes that something like this wouldn't have to happen. I mean, I'm happy to be dragged out. But I'll sit down. I'll probably lay down. But I don't know if I'll leave on my own. Because why let a meeting continue where they're literally just going to spout lies? Where they're not going to listen to the people. This isn't the first meeting that we've been ignored or talked over.
It won't continue until you come back in.
But why continue it if it's literally just lies?
I want Patrick to apologize to my husband for what he said.
But can we do this, Jenny? Like, I don't want to see, like, I worked really hard. I mean, I just want to, I don't care about Patrick. I don't care about anybody but you.
Now, come on, honestly. If I was in there doing that, they would have came in 10 strong, and they would have maced me walking in the door.
They can't touch her.
Don't even think differently.
I believe you.
I'm glad she's doing this. If this was a man, he'd be getting his ass kicked right now.
I believe you.
The fact of the matter is that Patrick Jones has spent his last 4 years not listening to the public, lying about members of the public, calling people terrorists.
I will answer you, but I really don't like. I consider you a domestic terrorist. You've taken part.
That's what I consider you.
Calling me stupid.
Stupid Jenny says.
And when I saw my husband stand up there,
I do want to make our elections better.
I do want to make sure that we have transparency in government. It is the number one thing that I agree with Patrick Jones on.
And Patrick Jones immediately discount everything that was said and lie about him.
And so, again, never have I ever seen anywhere, and this is coming up to my 12th year as an elected official, both from the city and the county, that someone wanted to be on a committee or commission that didn't have a thorough interest in making it better. Never. Quiet, please. Quiet. Quiet.
There was something that was just wrong about that to me, something that told me that this is never going to end, that they're going to continue with this cronyism, with their inability to work with people who believe differently from them, and enough was enough. And when Patrick Jones told me to sit down...
Sit down, please. Sit down.
Right.
I did.
They seem to like the fact that I'm standing up for them because so far this is the most power we've had in the 4 years he's been here.
But it's going to be short-lived.
Open the door so her lawyer can go in there. Jenny, stop talking. Her lawyer, your lawyer's here. So that lawyer should not be talking to you.
She wants a commission. You're refusing to let her lawyer
So just FYI, our county council is refusing to let a lawyer see his client.
Why can't the lawyer go in? What legal doublespeak would keep the lawyer from going in?
It's unclear how they can forcibly move her without arresting her.